Fog is drifting across the ridges. Crows are waking up. Have not heard a gobble yet. It rained a bit last night. Temperature around 40 or 51 this morning. Usually if it rains during the night, or I've found anyway, if it rains during the night and it's anywhere reasonably warm following morning, they usually gobble pretty good. But I've also found when it comes to turkey hunting, like anything else, nothing's written in concrete, that's for sure. But it's a pleasant morning. I'll sit here and drink me a little bit of coffee and watch the day wake up. I need to check and see when the solar periods start this morning too. Guarantee you there's not one going right now because just about all the cattle are laying down. And you'll never see a herd of cattle laying down during solar period. Of the whole herd over there right now, there's one cow on its feet. The rest of them laying down. And I have yet to hear a gobble, so. Let me do just a wee bit of soft talk. You know, there's things change. When I got into turkey hunting many years ago, you didn't know any turkey hunters. You know, there weren't any turkey hunters to speak of. I only knew one. And he was nationally famous, Lost John Grayson. He made turkey calls, and he was a heck of a turkey hunter. He got me into turkey hunting. And back then, we used a lot of really aggressive turkey calling. You get out and you start really talking to one, and man, they'd come in on a string. I mean, it was unreal. Unreal. The it was amazing. In first year I ever turkey hunted, I hunted both Virginia and Tennessee. You could land 2 birds in each one. And in the first 5 days, 6 days of hunting turkeys, I killed my 4 gobblers, 2 in Tennessee and 2 in Virginia. And then there for years after that, if you've heard an old turkey be sound off, chances are you get him. And that went on for a pretty good while. And then they came out with the videotapes, you know. People videoing their hunts. And Lord, how many of you buy the tapes and put them on, or rent them, you know, and go down to local sporting goods store, you know, archery shop or something, and they'd have TV there playing all these turkey tapes. And my God, within a very short period of time, the turkey hunting erupted. And there were people out there that couldn't wait on the season. They were driving up and down the roads and here and yonder and everywhere, and talking and getting them to gobble. And they educate a lot of turkeys. And other things have changed too. There's a lot more turkeys now than there were then. And turkey populations exploded, and there's a lot of hens. And when I was getting into this turkey hunting, there was very light turkey population. I mean, you had a hard time locating one. If you did, it was a good chance you'd call him in. There's a gobbler. There's a gobbler up here. Let me talk to her. He's answering me. It's crazy. That's their bird. He's a devil. Care of him. But 2 mornings in a row. crazy as the devil. First two ones, I believe it's that same daggum bird. He was the same daggum bird. He would come out on the west side of the field instead of coming down there, man. Instead of, he'd come out on the west side and work his way along the edge of the woods, all the way to the east side and disappear and go down the valley down here and get with some hens. Well, this morning, it's the exact reverse. He's staying along the edge of the woods. Out there, nearly 300 yards. He's talking like crazy. Stand there, gobble, and strut, yeah. And head west. He's headed west. That's for sure. He's still up there, gobbling away. against direction. He's up there. I'm getting fired up. I'm going to shut up. See what he does. Because he turned around and came back. He's interested in this down here. I don't know where he's going. I just went ahead and primed my Fowler. Should have already had it primed, but and I primed with 4F, which I haven't used a priming powder like 4F in a long, long time. I just prime right from the horn, whatever my main charge is. But when I set this Fowler up and just start shooting it, brand new, hadn't been used at all, wasn't broke in, if you want to call it that. I had threw it about 3 or so. Wasn't even flashes in the pan. The powder didn't even flash. It didn't ignite at all. I was using 2F. So. But I've used 2F. I've used reenactor powder, 1F and stuff. Prime from the pan. From the horn. Never had a bit of trouble. Not a bit. But as hard as turkeys are to get shot at, I figured I'd just go ahead and prime with that 4F. Turkey shut up, but he was, gotta be ready because he could possibly be coming this way. That daggum bird, that gobbler. This is the third morning. See, that I've been out here. First 2 mornings. Like I said, he came from the west and went east, right along the edge of the wood line up here, across that pasture, through the woods, and across the next pasture. Talking, gobbling, strutting, everything. But not coming this way at all. Now this morning, he went from east to west. Same pattern, same path. East to west. I'm gonna kill that bird. Even if I gotta leave it quickly and go up there and just ambush him, I'll go kill that bird. Stay vigilant, because one sneak right in on you silent here. Well, turkey movement has been a bit slow today. Other than the one gobbler that was up on the hill earlier. This old lone hen right there, that's only the second bird I've seen today. Good old gobbler right there. I'll let him get plumb by me. I was daydreaming, not paying any attention. He came in silent. He passed within 25 yards of me. I'm a heck of a turkey hunter today. I mean, I looked around and he was standing right beside the daggum Quigley over here. And I guess he heard me or saw me, some movement or something in here. Anyway, he headed for different places. Right here in front of me. Easy Fowler distance. Oh. If only they had a gobbler with them, but they don't. You know, sitting out here watching for turkeys, and you get a lot of time to think. And this gobbler Fowler that it's new to me, and shooting a fowling piece, you know, a flintlock Fowler, is very new to me. I mean, I've shot muzzleloaders for, my God, 60 years. And this has all been rifles. I've been a rifleman, you know. And this, the Fowler, the shotgun, if you don't call it that, is a different experience. And I'm learning a lot about it, of course. But I've studied them and read about them. Of course, being a gun nut, I read and study about everything I get my hands on. Of course, I was a president of the gun club, but you often hear shots in my videos. And I was president of that. It's a big gun club, a couple of thousand members. I was president of that thing for 5 years. And anyway, this gobbler Fowler, it's a lightweight gun. And in some of the charges that I was shooting in a couple of previous videos, there's a recoil. It lets you know it's there. I mean, lightweight gun and so-called heavy charges equal a little bit of recoil. But And I got a lot of comments on, oh, you're just using all these heavy charges and all that kind of stuff, you know. One guy told me that you should never, ever, ever shoot over 75 grains in a Fowler. Now, where he come up with that, I don't know. Probably just his opinion, but I don't know what he's basing it on. But I certainly can't find anything just to go along with that. As a matter of fact, well, a little bit of what research I've done and what I can find, muskets, Fowler's muskets, go back and there's a lot of historical data or record of what some of these people used back then. You know, the British military manual, loading manuals, they're still in existence. You can still find those things and what those people used. And the heaviest loads that I've been able to substantiate, you know, were 220 grains. 220 grains with a big old heavy 75 caliber round ball. That's a pretty potent charge. But for lots of the 1700s, the standard load in a brown bass was 165 grains. Standard load, not heavy load. That's a standard load, for heaven's sake. And then you come on down a little ways, and what a lot of historians consider to be the best black powder ever made, better than what we got today, was made by the French. And then their fusée their musket, the fusée de chat, mostly around a 20 gauge or whatever, they were using 125 to 150 grain loads of powder, for heaven's sake. So what I was using, 100 grain loads in this thing, although it does have a substantial amount of recoil in this lightweight Fowler, it's not a heavy load. And let me put things into perspective. I was a competitive shooter in rifle, pistol, shotgun, archery. You name it, I competed in it. Knife throwing, tomahawk throwing, double-bitted axes, whatever it is. I did. Now, in target shooting, trap, skeet, 5-stand sporting clays, the typical target load is 1 1/8 ounce of shot with a 2 3/4 dram equivalent load, which would be 75 grains of black powder. That's the typical target load in modern shotguns. And this is something that you can go out on a tournament and you can shoot 400 or more rounds a day and not beat your shoulder to death. A 75 grain load, 1 1/8 ounce of shot, is a target load that all that has to do is knock a little chip off of a very fragile clay target. It's all it's required to do. And the typical field load is 1 1/4 ounce of shot and a dram equivalent of 90 grains. 90 grains. That's a typical, just basic field load. And then a heavy field load would be 1 3/4 or 1 3/8 ounce and up to 1 7/8 ounce with a 3 3/4 to 4 1/4 dram equivalent. That goes on up, the dram equivalent. It goes on up to 105 to 115 grains. These are just typical. And if you're going to, a lot of the turkey loads that they're using today it's more than that, you know. Heavens to Betsy. That's at least 1 7/8, and sometimes 2, and sometimes 2 1/8 ounce loads with heavy 4 1/4 or whatever dram equivalent or better. Those are heavy loads. So and I think a lot of people seem to be think that a 70, 75, 60, 70, 75 grain load in a Fowler is sufficient for everything. Well, a 75 grain load is a target load. That's a target load, for heaven's sake. I'll have to say that if that's what you want to use, you go right ahead. You're welcome. You're welcome to it. But to print on paper, to get a shot group on paper is one thing, but for each pellet to have enough killing power is another. And an old way of testing to see if you've got a really good load is what a bunch of old timers have done. You go out and you take and put you up a beer bottle and see how far away that your load will break that beer bottle. And you'll amaze yourself that sometimes that load that you think is such a great hunting load because it's got a beautiful pattern on paper, not only will it not break that bottle, it won't even knock it over at distances that you might think it should. It might amaze you how limited the distance is to break that bottle. Now, before everybody goes crazy, you can go and shoot a bottle and break a bottle and do it in such a manner that you can pick up the glass. Okay, so I don't need to hear all this. Oh, you shouldn't be breaking glass and all that kind of junk. Use your head, test it in such a manner, but you can clean up your mess. Okay, you're not leaving a hazard out there, but it'll blow your mind. So my suggestion is you find out what the maximum distance is at that load that you choose to shoot. What's the maximum distance at which it will break a bottle, reliably break a beer bottle, and then come back inside of that distance 5 yards, and you've probably got a pretty reliable hunting load of whatever it may be. And then in a Fowler, such as this thing here, do that and use enough powder and enough shot to give you the pattern density and enough powder to give you the ability to break that bottle. Do that for yourself. But anyway, a lot of modern day shooters that are shooting old traditional stuff like it, there seems to be a goodly number of them that's wanting to use super light loads. 60, 70, 75 grain loads. That's target loads. Practically speaking, that's a target load. I mean, just compare that to any shotgun shell, modern shot shell out there. That's a target load. That's a target load. And then you've got the other extreme, the modern hunters that have only used modern guns, and they use modern muzzleloaders, meaning inlines and all that stuff. Most of them think you have to use at least 150 grain charge, shoot a field mouse with. And we hunters, in our opinions, are all over the chart. But just compare and go back and use what they did. See what they used back when, when England ruled the world with a fowling piece, brown bess. What kind of charges did they use? When the French were at their heyday, what kind of charges did they use? Fairly substantial loads. And a lot of people think, well, we've got modern black powder that's better than anything they had back then. No, not necessarily true. And like I said, according to many historians, we don't even match what the French had then. But anyhow, whatever. So our modern muzzle or powders are pretty much on equivalent with what they were then. I mean, the recipe for black powder hasn't changed in centuries. The only real variable is whatever charcoal you might be using. But anyway, your powder's not, we're not much different today than we were back then. So our charges would be comparable. So, I've done precious little testing with this thing. But so as this turkey season's over, I'll be doing a lot of testing. And do what the object is, I want to try to find a load that'll reliably take squirrel, and a load that reliably take turkey. They probably won't be the same load. And of course, you don't want to use any more shot and powder than you have to, but for heaven's sake, use what it requires. I'll find out what it takes for this in particular individual gun. Rather than taking what is generally considered to be common knowledge or word of mouth, including whatever I'm having to say, just don't take that verbatim. Test it yourself. So that's exactly what I'll be doing with this. I will test this and find out what gives me the best patterns and at what distance I'll get reliable killing power. I'll test it myself and find out for myself what this gun will do. And that's my suggestion, that everybody do the same thing. Find out what load your gun shoots, and as far as pattern density, as far as a suitable pattern goes, and at what distance it will reliably kill your intended target with, your intended game with. There's a lot of difference. It don't take a whole lot of power to punch a hole through paper. It takes a fair amount of power to break a turkey down, or a goose, or a duck, or whatever. So, anyway, test it out for yourself. I'll sit around here and watch for turkeys a while longer. I've actually seen a few gobblers today. And carried on a conversation with them to some extent. And I let one slip right by me. I mean, right by me. I should have had him. I didn't. Sometimes trying to video will cost you game and cost you fish. There's no two ways about it. So trying to get that gobbler on video cost me a shot at him. Because while I'm trying to get the camera set up, you got to take your eyes off of him, and ease around here in the blind, because he didn't come up on the side you were expecting, so he come up on the blind side. So while I'm getting that, took my eyes off of him to get that camera set up, he slipped right by me. And when I looked back up to where he wasn't there, and one time I located him, he had already passed me. He saw what he did. He saw a hen over here on the hill, and he just took off on a pretty good walk, get over at that hen. So he went right on by me while I was lollygagging around. But anyway, it was exciting.